Dictation will start abruptly after 5 seconds. We must bear in mind the comparatively recent growth of our industries and the short history of our industrialization. India has been looked upon for ages as a predominantly agricultural country. Those who swore by that statement little realized the wealth of resources that were available in the country and which could, if properly tapped and efficiently exploited, place this country in the forefront of industrialized countries of the world. We have, however, to realize that in the process of this industrialization, we have to make up the leeway of decades, nay, centuries. There has never and never can be anything like an industrial revolution in this country which would quickly transform its agricultural economy into a predominantly industrial one. Our industrialization, starting at a time of more progressive ideas than characterized the industrial revolution of Europe, has naturally to take note of modern ideas of the relationship between employers and labor, and between these and the general community. It has also to take note of what would, in the context of 18th century conditions, be severe handicaps and drawbacks. These naturally place limitations on the freedom of individual initiative and enterprise. They naturally reduce the limits within which personal ability, talent, and competence can function. If you add to these complexities those of international finance, trade movements, and the big handicap of foreign domination, you have a picture of difficulties which would make even stout hearts tremble. I am glad to say, however, that through the foresight, the spirit of adventure, and the nationalistic fervor of our pioneers of industry in the past, and the interest taken in our industrialization by a comparatively small band of industrialists, we have been able to establish centers of industrial installations here and there, which form the nucleus of our industrial effort today. There can be no denying the fact that the two world wars have made a tremendous difference to the pace of our progress. The operation of the nationalistic forces in the century has not failed to affect the pace and character of our industrializations. Nevertheless, I feel that those who try to find fault with our present industrial structure or the policies which generally govern our conduct in the industrial field will do well to remember that there is another side of the story without which our appreciation of the
situation cannot be complete. We are today faced with an economic situation without parallel in our history. After the end of the war, we succeeded to an inheritance of substantial foreign balances and a comparatively large cash balance in our own country. Today, we find our foreign balances substantially reduced. What is worse, they are locked up in country which is finding itself in considerable difficulties and whose economic situation is in many respects worse than our own. Our cash balances have also been largely drained away. The tide of post war inflation is still breaking on our shores. In foreign trade, our imports have been outbalancing our exports, with the result that the currencies which matter to us for our industrial effort are in short supply. Inside the country, spiral of prices has been rising. There is a high level of taxation, and we have already placed the last but one straw on the proverbial camel's back. Other countries adopted the role of welfare states when they were substantially more advanced in their industrialization. We have adopted that role today when we are hardly on our feet as an industrial country. All this has produced a tremendous strain not only on our national exchequer but also on the capacity of industrialists to help themselves for the future. As such, if we look at the causes which have brought about the present situation, the remedies become obvious. It is quite clear that we cannot go on maintaining such a high level of prices. Prices must therefore come down. With our incomes shrinking and the prospect of further shrinkage unless we stage a quick recovery. We must cut down our expenditure in order to balance our budget. We must build up our resources in those foreign currencies which we so sorely need for our industrial effort. For this, we must cut down those imports which are for our immediate purposes unessential, and in this I shall include food imports, because I am convinced that with the honest, coordinated, and concentrated efforts, we can make up whatever deficiency in food production there exists today. We must create a sense of confidence both in the investor and in those on whom will fall the great national duty of utilizing investments. It is only then that we can successfully implement our efforts to stimulate investments and to ensure that every pie that is saved is utilized in a national endeavor to stage a recovery from a severe economic malaise. Above all this, however, we must up our strength not on the basis of temporary support or artificial reductions in prices or stimulation of investment,